All right, so the hot tag Wrestledream. Instead of Collision this week, we had an AEW pay per view, which always deliver. I can't think of one that didn't. So let's just speed through these right here. Match number one, they opened up with Jay White versus Adam Page. Uh, Great hot opener because Tacoma hated Hangman. There was a lot of heat on this. Surprisingly, I thought like neither one of them
Ooh.
I feel could really afford a loss at this point. White was coming back from an injury, and Page is, I mean, he needs momentum on this character for it to be kind of justified. But you had to pick a winner, and they went with Jay White. Uh, Jay White wins with Blade Runner after Hangman couldn't do the buckshot lariat after getting his knee worked over for about half the match. Afterwards, Hangman said, "Oh, this isn't over" from the ring and everything. So, yeah, that probably isn't over. Match number two,
No way.
world women's world title match. Mariah May defending against Will Nightingale. 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 I don't know why I said that. Please edit that out.
Okay.
Mariah May wins a good back and forth. Honestly, I think this is probably Mariah May's best title defense so far. Honestly, like
Yeah.
kind of by a stretch. Um, the magic of Willow. But she wins clean with Storm Zero after hitting a reversal top rope Hurricane Rana and then a running knee. Hits the Storm Zero right after that, and it's over.
Well,
Match number three was for the TNT title. Jack Perry defended against Katsuyori Shibata. Story of this match was Shibata wasn't selling anything.
not
These
a
Japanese
thing.
guys, I think it's just the thing with Jack Perry. None of the Japanese guys are selling any of his stuff. I think that's just the gimmick they're going with here. I think it's meant to make Perry look, I don't know, really, but
I don't know,
uh,
man. I can say if I was Katsuyori Shibata and I came into a pay per view where I was going for a title and you told me that I was going to go and get beaten by Jack Perry, I probably might not sell anything either. Um,
well,
but
I
moving
mean,
on.
that's neither here or there. Shibata gets pinned when he applies the rear naked choke, but Jack Perry arches backwards and rolls him up. So he's in the sleeper, but he gets the 3 count anyway. That protects Shibata, that protects Perry because it makes him look like a conniving little, he was lucky more than good, which is good for a
Hmm.
heel. I thought it worked, and it was really entertaining seeing Shibata no sell everything.
Man,
um,
just wiping his chest after every kick.
yeah,
Ugh,
like
just
those chops
oh,
were hard too, man.
dude, yeah.
Those strikes were hard. Um, Afterwards, Perry attacks Shibata with the title belts, and then of all people, not of all people, it was foreshadowed. Uh, Daniel Garcia makes the save, runs him off a little bit, but then all of a sudden we get our only like not well one of two non-wrestling segments when all of a sudden MJF's music hits. I don't think anybody expected him to be there because we know that he's filming uh a movie with Adam
Yeah,
Sandler.
he's doing Happy Gilmore 2, and they just put out a report like a couple days before the pay-per-view, like a Hollywood reporter site, not even a wrestling site,
Yeah,
was saying that they were still like 2 or 3 weeks from being done filming that movie. So nobody
yeah,
expected MJF back for another month.
yeah. Although I mean, I guess it's just up the coast, right?
Yeah, I
you
guess
can make
so.
you can make that trip pretty easily by plane. From LA to Tacoma and back. You can make that
Yeah.
before filming starts the next day or whatever, probably.
Yeah,
But
probably.
MJF uh, gets in there. He gets the one up on Garcia and grabs a mic. Uh, he takes advantage of Perry actually attacking with the TNT title belt. Once Garcia turned his back, and then MJF is picking up the scraps here. He runs down Garcia and Seattle. Uh, he thanked uh, this was great. He thanked Garcia for telling him that he stole his diamond ring and pawned it off in Buffalo specifically because he was able to track it down from there. So even though I hate the diamond ring, it's so played out. I am entertained by how they got it back.
Yeah.
Um, uh, but yeah, he goes to nail him with it, and then Adam Cole, baby,
I popped.
comes back, and I couldn't believe it. I was like, I didn't think he was coming back like ever. I thought he was permanently injured because he's been out for a year. Like, I love Adam Cole, but he is very, very fragile. Um,
Yeah.
and he came and ran off him. I saw a lot of people ragging on this on Twitter, bad faith takes about, oh, Adam Cole's a babyface now. It's like, well, all he has to do is say, you know why I did all that bad stuff to you? This, the way you're acting right now, because this is who you really are. This is what you deserve. That's all
Yeah.
you have to say. And that's
Yeah.
probably something akin to what he will say on Dynamite. So like it's fine. It's fine, guys. It's fine.
I mean, it
Um
really like the only question I have is what now if Adam Cole is a face, what now with Roddy and Undisputed Kingdom, who are tweeners, still
uh
heels?
I think it's unclear after they shook Hook's hand.
Yeah, yeah. See,
It's
that's
unclear.
unclear.
They haven't really followed up on it, except that they still want the Beast Mortos as their retainer, or on retainer as their lawyer.
But he's
That's all I
definitely
know.
in a heel faction,
He
so
is, but he's still kind of conflicted about it. He still is like,
that's okay. Yeah, yeah. He's like, oh, I don't. Yeah, sad monster noises.
sad monster noises. But we'll get to him in a bit.
Yeah.
Um, Match number 4 was this match, the international championship match. Basically, they used this to cap off Act One of the show, and this was Will Ospreay defending against Ricochet and Konosuke Takeshita, and it was amazing. It was it's going to be talked about later, but I do need to mention and stress that this is must watch. Is
Oh yeah.
absolutely must watch. The end came when all three guys were down, and Callis comes in with the screwdriver. He pulled the referee out, I think, and he gets the screwdriver, and he's about to actually use it himself on Ospreay, but Ospreay catches him, and he's like, "Oh no!" He does the begging off, and then Kyle Fletcher comes out of nowhere, and he uses the screwdriver. Finally, he betrays Will Ospreay, allowing Takeshita to hit the power drive knee and win the international title. They finally strapped up Takeshita, finally, because it was getting to the point where if you didn't do it soon, people were going to lose faith on him. And this
Mm-hmm.
match not only delivered on the wrestling front, but also on the storyline progression front and the push for Takeshita. Um, I will. Oh, afterwards, Fletcher definitely made it clear that he was screwing with Ospreay and that he was no longer friends with him by giving him the Tiger Driver 91. So yeah, he tucked his head, he tucked his neck. It looked about as safe as that move can be. So I'm fairly certain that Will Ospreay is fine. But yeah, it was gnarly.
Yeah.
Segment number 2. So this is like your intermission between the two acts of the show. Renee interviews. Oh, there were 3. I forgot. Renee interviews Orange Cassidy and Jerry Lynn of all people backstage. This was weird and out of nowhere, but I love it. Love Jerry Lynn. You and I saw him win the Ring of Honor World Title in
Yeah.
Houston
That was
ages
awesome.
ago. Always gonna have a
Ages
soft
ago.
spot for him.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Lynn talks him up, talks up OC, and says that you know he's gotten to know him and he's gotten to see his growth and everything. He's unique. He's never seen anybody like him, and he could be the man in this company if he tried. And then you know encourages him to try, which always kind of a hard sell for OC, but and then all of a sudden from the other side of the shot, Hook comes in. He's like, "Yeah, dude, you are the man. and then he leaves. It's very very strange. It was like it was almost like, yeah, hurry up, guys. We got to get to Swerve. We got to get to
Right.
Swerve. So speaking of which, Prince Nana is in the ring for the next segment. He introduces Swerve. He gets a hero's welcome, the whole bit. Tacoma adores him. Swerve's not entirely 100% physically, but he's at least medically cleared. MVP interrupts Swerve and says they have history. He believes from the start. They mentioned a match in Defy that they had where Swerve went over him. He's like, you're the man. We can do great things together. Then Swerve returns the favor, talks up MVP and Shelton Benjamin, and especially Shelton saying that he was a big influence on him. He was they were both prime examples of excellence in black wrestling. Reiterates MVP points about Nana though, but credits him too, because even though all this bad stuff happened on his watch, all this good stuff happened on his watch anyway. So it's a wash, and that Nana is family, and that he doesn't turn his back on family. Quick interjection: if family means so much to him, how could he do what he did to Adam Page? Hanger did nothing wrong. I'm gonna press that till the day I die. Um, Shelton then gets on the microphone and is like, "There is no you without us. We're not asking you to join us. We're telling you that you have to." And so they get kind of in a pull apart brawl, and it was fun. And that's gonna be down the line what looks like Swerve's trajectory is. It's him, and they haven't named it yet, but we assume it's going to be the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah.
Match number 5, 2 out of 3 falls. Your ongoing Hispanic / Latinx History Month match, a match to coincide with their new deal with Fox Sports Mexico. So 2 out of 3 falls is very, very, very common, almost to the point of being a rule in lucha
Yeah.
culture. They introduced or they didn't introduce, but they highlight the announce table. The Spanish announce there's Carlos Cabrera
Yeah.
is
I
on
was
the
like, whoa,
announce
Carlos
team.
Cabrera. Like,
I was
what?
like, oh, like you always you saw him on the Spanish announce team on WWF pay-per-views going back to the mid-90s. It's always a
Least.
treasure. It's always a
Yeah.
treat to see Carlos. Big ups to Carlos Cabrera. Um, it's, again, 2 out of 3 falls match. Hologram wins the first fall with a cradle. That weird like Monty Strahl kind of adjusted cradle after a running crucifix bomb, following a top rope reversal into a head scissors. Like the stuff in this match was nuts.
Yeah.
Mortos wins the second fall, becoming the first person in AEW to pin Hologram. He does it with he hit him with 2 backbreaker variants, one from an inverted torture rack position, and
Mm-hmm.
then the power bomb onto the knee that MJF also does, and then hits him with the discus lariat for that second pinfall. Hologram wins the third one, which the spinning Blue Thunder bomb, which they're now calling the Portal Bomb.
The portal bomb. Okay.
Portal Bomb, yeah.
Portal bomb.
Great match, fantastic. Another one. Go watch. Like the crowd was up for this. Match number 6, Darby Allin versus Brody King. Special entrance video for Darby. He was skating all over Tacoma, and he pulled the Marty McFly with the thing.
With the bus. Yeah.
Apparently, he couldn't just like drive. He had to be on the other side of the city and until the show started or what. I don't know, but he showed up. He got special entrance. The match was nuts. Darby wins though. He finally gets his pinfall victory over Brody. When he pushes him, the steel steps had been set up on the outside on their side. So earlier in the match, and they'd done some stuff with it out there, but they'd stayed there. And Darby pushes Brody from the top rope onto the steps. Somehow they didn't move. A guy that big falling from that high, like I don't know how they met. They must have practiced that over and over again to make sure that
I think they might have been more reinforced than normal.
Than anybody. but oof.
Oh my
um,
God. Ugh.
and then he coffin drops him while he's on the steps, and then he makes it into the ring. And then when Brody King finally makes it to the ring at 9, he gets immediately dropped with another coffin drop from the waiting Darby Allin for the 1-2-3. This match was excellent as well. Much more storyline focused,
Mhm.
much more story driven.
Yeah.
Match number 7, uh, World Tag Team title match. Young Bucks put the belts on the line against Private Party. We get an amazing Red sighting.
Yeah. Amazing Red. I was like,
I didn't know
what?
that he had trained to Top Flight,
I didn't know that at all.
or not Top Flight,
Or Private Party.
Private Party. Thank you. I didn't know that, but it's always good to see him. He's one of those guys. Excalibur brought it up on commentary. Like, he's one of those guys who, he never had like the big success on the big stage, but he's been so tremendously influential in pro wrestling since the early 2000s. He's one of those. His DNA is all over your favorite wrestler's styles, guaranteed.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Um, this was a nice long match with lots of back and forth, lots of call outs and stuff like that, lots of counters. The Lots of really good near falls too. They got me on a couple. I thought the match was over a couple of times before it actually was, but the ending came when uh, they eventually hit the TK driver. But Private Party gets a standing ovation from the crowd afterwards because their music played anyway. This raised their stock tremendously, I think. I honestly do. I think they're going to finally be players in the tag division like they should have been since the inception. So,
Mhm.
match
Yeah.
number 8, Chris Jericho versus Mark Briscoe over the ROH World Title. Uh, uh, the end comes when Jericho hits the Judas effect, but gets greedy and wants to go for the J Driller. He does, but Mark Briscoe marks out. He kicks out and he hulks up, like he legitimately like hulks up, and wins with the froggy bow and then the J Driller, and then that's it. Uh, and then Bryan Danielson versus Jon Moxley for the world title. This match started out so well. Like, uh, I'll go into it later, but the opening minutes of this match were incredible. The At one point, Marina Shafir gets caught interfering for like the third time and gets sent to the back. But it doesn't really matter in the end because the end comes when Jon Moxley chokes out Bryan Danielson with a rear naked choke in kind of a lackluster and anticlimactic way. I mean, it's kind of difficult with a rear naked choke for it to be anything but anticlimactic unless you really sell it. This was the culmination of a bunch of counters that you almost kind of felt was going to continue, and then it didn't. He passed out. He didn't tap out. Uh, After that, uh, we'll talk about the aftermath of this after we run down what I liked elsewhere and what I didn't like.
Okay.
There was lots of great wrestling on this show. Obviously, it's an AEW pay per view. They're a wrestling centric organization. Their pay per views, their super cards, always deliver on the wrestling front. I can't remember a single pay per view that they've done where the wrestling has been a problem at all. That being said, I think this is probably Mariah May's uh, best outing as champion, and maybe, well, yeah, as champion, because I think her match with Toni Storm was still a little bit better, but as champion, as defending champion, this was the kind of defense that she needed. Um,
Oh yeah.
there were times where it looked like Willow actually could have won. Uh, the crowd was very into the idea of her winning. like it's you look at where the story is going, and we already talked about this. You realize that until she faces Tony Storm again, whether she beats her or not, she's not losing that belt
No.
because it's not about anybody else. It's about Tony.
Yeah.
It's about Tony and Mariah. So, like, I mean, I maybe I could see them doing like a quick change and then quick win it back, but that's not really AEW's modus operandi. So I don't really feel like that's in the cards.
Hmm.
But yeah, there was some great stuff. Willow hit him. Well, it was an empty pool, but she did a moonsault. I don't think I've ever seen Willow try the moonsault before, and it was gorgeous, even if she
Yeah.
landed on the mat.
On nothing.
Um,
Yeah.
there was a great Indian deathlock that
Yeah.
she put on, showing her technical side
Oh, when she grabbed her head and started bashing it into her
with
own
her
knee.
own, yeah, her
Oh my
own, yeah.
God.
I thought that was fantastic. Just great stuff. Willow loses, but doesn't really lose anything. Like
No, not at all.
she's like within a year, that division should be built around her. It really should. And this is coming from somebody who is a diehard Tony Storm fan, but that's going to run its course eventually. And the
Yeah.
one to pick up the ball or the baton or whatever you want to pass to her, the torch, it needs to be Willow. It needs to be Willow.
Yeah. Yeah, it needs to
Um,
be Willow for sure. It
yeah.
was a great
Another thing,
match.
yeah. The other thing, like I said, there was lots of wrestling there. That I love the 2 out of 3 falls match, though. I mean, we're big Beast Mortos fans here
Oh
on the
yeah.
podcast. Clearly, if that hasn't been made clear already,
Right.
um, but it was a really good showcase for him in both of their first pay-per-view outing.
Hmm.
Um, I do kind of wonder where LFI was during all of this, but it didn't hurt the match, and it was good to see now that even though it didn't cost them the match, now that Hologram has been pinned, it takes the pressure off. Because
Yeah.
anytime there's a winning streak, it's like, okay, you build it and you build it, you build it. Okay, eventually we're going to have to beat this guy because nobody should stay undefeated forever. And you limit your options that way, storytelling wise.
Yeah.
Now it's not only does it serve to alleviate the pressure from Hologram, it also puts over Mortos even in defeat because he can still say he was the first to pin the guy. And for a guy that doesn't have a lot of wins, that means a lot more.
Yeah.
So, I thought that was great. Fantastic. Some of the stuff they did in this match was absolutely ludicrous. Go out of your way to watch it. Obviously, the international title, or we'll talk about that in a second. Um, One thing I do wish that they did, why was there only one women's match on this card? There were
Oh.
9 matches. Why couldn't they have had another women's match? It didn't even need, honestly, if it was me booking, I would have scrapped the Ring of Honor title match. Not scrapped it, but postponed it. Put that on whatever the next Ring of Honor pay-per-view is. Put that on that card where it belongs.
Hmm.
Actually have the champion show up on ROH. Have Jericho show up on ROH and build that there. You can build it across both of them. I don't care, but build that there too. You put
Hmm.
Jericho on the card, and maybe you get a few extra buys, and it's on a card that it should be on, as opposed to this. And I would have replaced that with Chris Statlander versus Camille because I want to see that match. And if they're gonna go with this weird out of nowhere Statlander babyface turn, and they're obviously angling for a TBS shot against Mercedes Monet, have her face the heavy first. Give Camille a pay-per-view opportunity. Have a women's match on the card that doesn't revolve around the title for once.
Hmm.
You know, there, you highlight Camille's strengths, you highlight Stat's strength. Camille can even go over due to Monet interfering. I don't care. Like Stat doesn't really lose anything from losing by nefarious means, and
Yeah.
Camille only gains. I feel like that would have been it's weird to say that over a Ring of Honor world title match, but I really feel like that would have been a better spot. would have been a better choice
Yeah.
for that number 8 match.
Um,
Honestly,
yeah, I found it weird that we had, they have the highest paid women's wrestler on the planet in their roster, and she was not on their pay per view. It was weird to
apparently
me.
she was on the pre-show doing non-wrestling things and setting something up with
Yeah,
Queen Aminata, but like,
yeah. There's
why?
going to be a Quima. Yeah, they're having a match on Dynamite, but like,
Which
and
is,
there
well, I'll
was
take that, but
there was two other women's matches on the pre-show.
yeah,
Um,
Anna
and
Jay and someone.
yeah, Anna
I
Jay and
don't know. I
someone,
didn't watch the pre-show,
and
so I
Anna
didn't.
Jay and someone, and Statlander and someone. And Statlander actually finished her match with a backpack finisher,
Okay.
which was pulled off amazingly by her.
What
Or
we
no,
talked about the other week. Yeah.
maybe it was Anna Jay that did. I'm trying to remember because
Oh,
like
well, Anna Jay's using a gory bomb. I know that.
the
I mean,
backpack and
that's
then
a
onto the
backpack move.
backpack into
Yeah.
the pancake. Okay, yes, it was Anna
Yeah.
Jay then, but it looked
Yeah.
great. Her doing it.
Yeah. Because she's tall.
She's taller, yeah. But
Yeah.
it also
Taller
she
and
just went
stronger.
like instead of trying to roll her off, she just goes straight back and
Yeah.
pancakes, and it's fucking ugly, ugly in the best way.
Yeah.
Like
It looks like it hurts.
it looks like it hurts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just it's weird that they used her presence at the pay per view set up a match for Dynamite instead of
Yeah.
having her on a
Like I
match.
said, I think he would have been better served by having Statlander advance that by having her face Camille.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have to go over. Camille could go over,
Yeah, and that
by
has just as
nefarious
much time
means.
in.
It's fine.
That has just as much time in and build as anything else on this card really did, except
Yeah.
for Moxley
You know.
Danielson. So
So, but
yeah,
yeah, moving on. The international title match.
Jesus Christ.
I First of all, I want to say that all 3 men deserve a rousing standing ovation. Secondly, I want to single out Ricochet specifically because uh, as soon as he got to AEW, it was very clear that he wanted to be different and be seen in a different light than he was in WWE, where he was always the light guy. His stuff looked impressive, but it didn't look hard hitting. I know I mentioned this last week, but I think it bears repeating that Ricochet is really wrestling seemingly with a purpose to be taken more seriously as somebody who could beat you up.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, yeah, he's 5'10" or whatever, but look at him. Look at him. That dude is shredded. I believe he could beat me up. Absolutely. No question about it.
Oh yeah.
100%. And especially with this new style that he's adopted, yeah, like it's believable. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's mixing all his flippy stuff with power moves and strikes that look like they're taking dudes' heads off. Like
Oh,
he's really laying it in. So I really want to shout out to Ricochet specifically. A lot of guys when they switch companies, they don't take the time to alter their style. They just kind of do what they've always done with maybe like 1 or 2 tweaks, maybe a new finish or something like that. Ricochet has transformed his entire presentation to someone who looks like, yeah, you weren't really the third man out. There were absolutely times in this match where I thought anybody could have walked away with the belt. Like I kind of figured it might be Takeshita, but like there were times when Ricochet, it was like, man, they could have gone with him. They could have
man,
gone with him, and I wouldn't have been mad about it at all. I wouldn't have been mad. I'm glad they strapped up Takeshita, but I wouldn't have been mad if they put the belt on Ricochet.
dude, Ricochet pins people so good. He's got people kicking out who he didn't even pin.
I I want to finish this segment or this match's review by paying it the highest compliment that I feel I can give it. There's kind of an upper echelon of legendary, whatever you want to call them, 3-way, triple threat matches, whatever you want to call them. and this is right up there with them. It may be better than any of them. The three that I'm thinking of specifically are John Cena, Seth Rollins, and Brock Lesnar.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there's the WrestleMania 20 main event with Shawn Michaels and Triple H and the other guy. There's where I'd rather not name them.
No.
Um, and then there's the a match they actually called out, the triple threat match over, what was it, Unbreakable,
Mm-hmm.
at TNA Unbreakable in 2005, I think it was, with Samoa Joe, Christopher Daniels, and AJ Styles. They actually called out that match, um, with a spot where they were taking turns kicking Takeshita, and then he gets up frustrated, stands around, and it says, "Stop kicking me," just like Christopher
It
Daniels, and then they kick him in the face. Like,
was so good.
it's right up there. Those are like the best, I think, consensus triple threat matches of all time. This is right up there with them, and it may be the best that I've ever
Yeah,
seen. That
it
may be
was very
recency
good.
bias, but it might be the best. So now we have to talk about the main event
Mm-hmm.
and its aftermath, because after he choked out choked out Danielson, the whole arena, the air just went out of it. And then
Yeah.
the Blackpool Combat Club comes out, um, and Moxley gets a bag, and Yuta comes out and he stops it. Yuta comes out with Darby and chases him off. Darby, I think, what did he have? He had a weapon. I can't remember what it was, but he chased him out. But then Yuta turns on Darby, nails him, and then he's the one to put the bag over Brian's head. And it was just, it made me feel lots of bad things.
Yeah.
And I've had, as of this recording, pretty much exactly 24 hours to think about it and to go over it and to see some chatter online, how other people feel about it. And I guess the consensus that I came to in my own mind after having given it all that thought is that it made me feel the intended feeling, the intended emotions. It set up a lot of stuff for a new generation to avenge Danielson. And this is only the end of Danielson's career as a full-time wrestler. So it's not like he's not going to come back and get his revenge at some point. The surgery needed to happen. It was very clear that he was
Mm-hmm.
very, very hurt. From the beginning of this match, the beginning of this match had a flurry of offense that was crazy, but you could tell that he was hurting because he took a clothesline on the outside from Moxley, and the bump that he took, he did not take it like you would take a normal clothesline. He made sure to land on his butt.
Mm-hmm.
So like you could tell that he was really hurting. So it was necessary. I guess my biggest complaint at this point, like I can't complain about the stuff they set up. I feel bad about Washington having to see their boy go through that,
Yeah.
but you can't always have happy endings in wrestling, or else the good times don't mean anything. So, from a storyline standpoint, as much as I hated it in the moment, and I did hate it in the moment, I felt so bad. Um, I'm okay with it. What
Mm-hmm.
I do wish they did, what I do wish could have been different, but realistically, you couldn't have really done it with anyone else. Ultimately, I kind of wish that it had been some, like, literally anybody other than Moxley. Moxley doesn't need another freaking title run. Like,
No.
and honestly, like, even though he just kind of reappeared after a couple months absence after that ugh, awful match with Naito, but that's more on Naito than Moxley. Naito's just running on vibes at this point.
Yeah.
Um, but like, I feel like I'm just tired of Moxley strutting around like the toughest guy in the room, and you
Hmm.
just like no selling everybody. Like, and it's not the same with Jack Perry and Shibata. It's literally everybody. Like, he can't be seen as anything but the toughest guy. Like, he's strutting around like he's Brock Lesnar, and it's just
Yeah.
like the guys that he could make, like, some of this is on Tony for not following up on booking, but like, I felt like his series of matches with Orange Cassidy should have elevated Cassidy more than they did,
Yeah.
and that's more on the booking. But like, look at how hard Cassidy had to fade to even look like he was in Moxley's league. That's a little insulting, really.
Yeah. It is. It is a little.
Like,
Yeah.
you read Moxley's book, and he's a very interesting guy, but he kind of comes off as an arrogant prick who's kind of up his own butt. Like, it's, I respect the guy, but I really feel like if they're going to change his character, like, he needs to be more giving. I think maybe he, was so soured by WWE that he was like, I'm never going to sell again. Like,
Maybe.
and it's just like, that works a as a a baby face or an anti-hero for a while, and then it doesn't anymore. And it certainly doesn't work as a heel. Like, it's at least not for me. Your mileage may vary, but I would have preferred a longer vacation for Moxley and for him to come back and do something different where he sells more. Like, if he's a heel, he should be selling way more than he does. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I know he's a monster heel or whatever, but like, it's I just wish that Brian had been able to be given the opportunity to put somebody else over in this position other than Moxley. And I guess
Yeah.
that's my biggest gripe that remains after this. Everything else I've come to terms with. And it doesn't really make sense to do this with anybody but Mox, so I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
I just wish it could have been different, and it could have been somebody else who could have used the rub to elevate themselves instead of somebody who was already a made guy.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I wish they would have used somebody else for that. Not a big Moxley guy, but I thought other than that, pay per view was freaking fantastic. So
100%.
can't really be mad.